What's going on, everyone? Scott here. Welcome back to the channel. So the NCAA Women's March Madness bracket is officially here, and we're here ready to dive into our initial thoughts on the bracket. Just kind of not going to dive too much into each matchup. We'll have more as we get towards the first game later on this first week here of March Madness, but just kind of wanted to give a brief overview and kind of initial thoughts on the bracket so far. But before we jump in, if you could just hit that like and subscribe button down there. We have more NCAA basketball content on the channel, both the women's side and the men's side. We're going to have kind of previews and more broken down previews of this bracket as we go through the week and get ready for the games to start later on this week and throughout the tournament as well. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a video, but let's just jump in to the top region. And if you watch my Michigan State preview, obviously Michigan State gets the 7th seed in the game against number 10 seed Harvard in this region. But when you look at this bracket here, you got UCLA up there as the 1 seed. And I'll just, spoiler alert right now, I don't think any of the 1 seeds are losing round 1. I don't think any of them are really in trouble round 2 either. But you got UCLA, the 1 seed. You got Richmond, Georgia Tech, early on. Probably Georgia Tech there. Ole Miss, Baylor. But you also got Grand Canyon right there as well. Ball State is the 12th seed. So you got Ole Miss, Ball State, Baylor, Grand Canyon. I think Grand Canyon is kind of a spicy 13 seed here. But then you go down. Florida State is the 6th seed. George Mason, LSU, San Diego State. LSU, Florida State, probably like LSU to probably get out of this section here. Michigan State, Harvard, NC State, Vermont. Michigan State, if they can get past this first game, NC State, I think they can cause some problems. NC State, obviously, really good team, really well-coached team. They are always in, seems like Final Four, Elite 8 at least, battling. But I definitely think that there's a way that Michigan State can pull some upsets here and make a run. But initial thoughts, I'm definitely sharpieing in UCLA in the Elite 8 of this region. And then you go with the next couple, NC State, Michigan State, LSU, Florida State. I think of those 4 teams is probably where the next Elite 8 team comes out. So that's where we sit in the Spokane region. You head over to the Birmingham region. Top seeded South Carolina, Tennessee's Tech. Got Utah, Indiana is the 8-9 seed. I don't think either of those teams really provide any problems for South Carolina in the second game. Alabama, Green Bay, and Maryland versus Norfolk State. I kind of like Maryland out of this, small little region here. Really well-coached team, but I kind of like them to move on. I don't know. I don't know if they can give South Carolina a run, but I think it could be a close game. But I think South Carolina still gets out of this top part here. And then you got, West Virginia, North Carolina, Oregon State. North Carolina probably out of this section. Initial thoughts, you got Vandy as the 7 versus Oregon as the 10. Duke and Lehigh. I think Duke gets out of this section here, but watch out for 10th seeded Oregon. Deja Kelly transferring over from North Carolina. Watch out for that. Watch out for a potential Oregon-North Carolina matchup here coming up in a couple games. But where we initially thought Elite 8, kind of sharpieing in South Carolina up at the top. Right now, probably gonna pencil in from the bottom for the Elite 8 in this region. Between Oregon and North Carolina right now, probably leaning North Carolina, but I think it'll be an interesting game. Heading down to the bottom, the other Birmingham region, you got Texas as the 1 seed, Illinois, Creighton. I think Illinois could cause potentially some problems, make it a competitive game, but still like Texas getting out here. Tennessee, Ohio State, potentially in the second round here. I like Tennessee. Tennessee is a very dangerous 5 seed, and kind of moving on, we'll put a pin in that. You got that school down the road as the 6 seed. You got Notre Dame as a 3 seed. That would be an interesting second round matchup. I like Notre Dame to get going back up. They were on the 1 seed line about a month and a half ago. It seemed like 2 seed line. They end up with a 3 seed in this one, but I like them getting past this section first weekend right here. Louisville, Nebraska, an interesting one. TCU, FDU. I watch out for Nebraska in this region or Louisville to upset a potential TCU matchup in the second round. As of right now, probably sticking with TCU, but don't sleep on, as I said, don't sleep on Louisville, Nebraska. Right now for this Elite 8, from the top, I'm penciling in Tennessee as a 5 seed, upsetting Texas, getting there at the bottom. I think it's probably Notre Dame coming out of here. I wouldn't be shocked, though, if it was, say, Louisville, Nebraska, or TCU coming out of the bottom. But right now, I think it's probably Notre Dame here. Head over to Spokane for the last region here. You got USC as the 1 seed, UNC Greensboro. You got Cal, Mississippi State as the 8-9 there. I think USC gets out of the first weekend, fairly easily. Don't see too much of a challenge there. You got Kansas State, Fairfield, Kentucky, Liberty. Kentucky, probably right now, probably looking at Kentucky get out of that first weekend there. Iowa, Murray State, and Oklahoma, Florida Gulf Coast. I think Iowa is playing really good right now. We saw what they did in the Big Ten tournament. I kind of like Iowa to get out of this first weekend there. Initial thoughts. Then Oklahoma State, South Dakota State, 7-10. Then UConn, Arkansas State. I like UConn getting out of this first weekend. And then setting up a potential rematch of last year's tournament, USC versus UConn. And just kind of initial thoughts is I think UConn, I think Paige Beckers is the best player in the country. Juju Watkins right behind her. I wish this was on different sides. I wish this was a potential national championship matchup, but we will potentially get this in the Elite Eight. And I just, right now, initial thoughts is UConn. I've been on UConn all year. I just think Paige Beckers, in my opinion, is the best player in the country. She's going to be the #1 overall pick in the WNBA draft. And, Juju Watkins is also incredible. There's incredible players in this tournament. You look at Lauren Betts up there as well with UCLA, potential Final Four matchup between either USC, UConn on this side. But I definitely think this is going to be a really good tournament. You got the first 4, High Point, William & Mary, UC San Diego, Southern U, Columbia and Washington getting in from the Big Ten, and Iowa State and Princeton. But that's kind of my initial thoughts. I like UConn, and I like the idea of getting a rematch from this year and from last year's tournament. So kind of the third game of this Paige versus Juju potentially here. Tied up at 1-1, so see which way this goes. I definitely think that's kind of the initial thoughts here and kind of the biggest storyline coming out so far. But as I said, we will be back later this week, throughout the week, should I say, with more previews and predictions from this bracket from both sides here. But anyway, that'll do it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.